Hey everyone, it's Desiree and I am here with Rubber Stamp Tapestry, and today we're going to create a postcard featuring the Hummingbird Patio Peg Stamp Set. Now what I'm going to use for this, I'm using a piece of Canson XL watercolor paper. Here is the set that we're going to be using. Now, as always, they have a registry. You want to take notice where that registry is compared to the stamped image. I like to, on the side, have a piece of scrap paper just to check that, especially if it's an image like the pots. This piece of watercolor paper measures 4.5 by 6. That's just taking a sheet of Canson XL and quartering it. And again, I'm going to be using my Distress inks. So I'm using Fired Brick and Rusty Hinge for the flower pots. For the flowers themselves, I'm going to be using Stormy Sky, Shaded Lilac, and Dusty Concord. And then for the greens, I'm going to be using Twisted Citron, Mowed Lawn. And for the grounding that you'll see me use, I'm going to be using Smoky Slate. I believe that's what that is. Now, as always, Vintage Photo, of course, is going to make an appearance. Did we ever have a doubt? Just saying. Okay. So, I'm actually, now, the Distress inks were not made to stamp with. Okay? It's, unless you like that broken up look, then you certainly can. I mean, no one says that you can't stamp with them, but you're not going to get a solid image if that's what you're looking for. I wasn't looking for a solid image. Now, I'll be honest, as I'm putting this all together, you can see I'm just focusing down in the one corner when it comes to the card. The way that I was going to go was I was going to spray this whole image. I stopped that thought. You'll see why. It would have been hysterical if I did. I would have kept on going, though. I can guarantee you I would have kept on going. Yes. So here I am. I'm coming in with the shades of purple and the blue. I started out with the Stormy Sky. It's just got that beautiful tint of blue to it. Now I'm coming in with a light purple, and then I'm going to come in with a dark purple. Alright, so these, I'm looking at these to be like those hyacinths. I think that's what they're called. Or no. Yes, hyacinths. I always get them confused with a hydrangea. But I like the same colors for them. So, again, the one thing, if you've seen any of my previous videos using peg stamps, I love these peg stamps. I love the fact that you're not... Sometimes we overthink a project. I do. Okay, I'm not going to say everybody else. So I stated that wrong. I apologize. I said I will overthink a project. With the peg stamps, it's almost like they don't allow you to overthink a project. You can just have fun stamping with them. You go over each other. You don't have to worry about what the placement is. It's okay if you overlap the image. It's just what I love. So here I'm coming in with that Hickory Smoky Slate, and I'm just putting that down, and here I'm using one of my Nouveau brushes with a little bit of water, and I'm moving the color now. So I'm just having that fade out so that you can see they are being grounded. As I said, I was going to spray this. I wanted them to react. Yeah. Could you imagine if I did that? Between the reds, the purples, I would have had nothing but mud on this page. So I still wanted the effect. So what can you do? You grab a paintbrush, you put clean water in it, and you just tap in the areas where you want it to look like watercolor. I'm going to go over the pots and I'm going to reactivate those colors just to get that watercolor effect. So if you love the watercolor look but you're not comfortable doing it, here is a way that you can do it. Once this dries, it looks like those pots have been watercolored. They weren't stamped first, okay? Because you're moving that pigment, all right? Which I think is great. So I'm just going to use my heat gun here just to dry this so I don't mess it up anymore. because we all know that would happen. You know, and the whole time I'm doing this, I am giggling at myself, just envisioning what it would have looked like if I sprayed the whole thing. So, yeah. Fingers are tapping. Of course, here's our vintage photo. It had to make an appearance. I'm going around the edge of this card, but again, I didn't want the ink edge. So I'm going to grab my brush again, put a little bit of water in it, and then just smooth along that edge, just to smooth it out, to give it that watercolor look on the edge, being careful not to pick up anything else. So that just added and framed that piece. I am going to grab one of my glass pieces here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of vintage photo down on that. I'm going to add some water, and I'm going to flick, do some splats coming off, and I wanted it to go in a certain way just to come off of those flowers. And then I will set that aside to let that dry. I do start with the heat gun first with it just to get that rolling. Oh, wait a minute, maybe I don't get this set aside. You know, it's funny when you rewatch yourself, you kind of forget what you did. No, never set it aside, so now I'm dabbing it up. There you go. That's when you're impatient. That's what I do. I hit it with my heat gun, and then I pick it up with a towel. Yes. I'm going to use my Obsidian Desiree K ink for my sentiment, and I'm using the Plant, Grow, and Bloom, and I'm just going to put that down on the bottom. Now, the Obsidian ink is waterproof and so forth. Now, that's something to remember. When this, again, we're making a postcard. So you will need, if you do mail something like this, okay, you want to make sure that you put protection on top of this. Now, what I would use would be the Distress Glaze when it comes to that. I got curious, and plus I didn't want black. I wanted to go back to the brown. Black would have really stood out because I didn't use black anywhere on here. So I'm using my Archival, which is waterproof, in potting soil for my sentiment. And again, just continued that down along the bottom. And I'm going to put a couple of the hummingbirds in, and I'm going to use the brown as well. Now, I could have used the purple. I could have used, you know, any of the colors, just as long as I would have stayed with the colors that I used here. I usually don't pull anything else in. I'm going to flip this over. I already have the pieces set up. Now, these pieces that I'm using to create the postcard, I got a really long time ago from Stampin' Up. I know they are no longer available, but again, you just need a line, 3 lines on to the right. You just need postcard up at the top. It would be very simple to just create that. And again, I used my Archival ink. So just remember, if you do create something like this, you want to put a glaze on top of that. I know when Christina Werner, she does beautiful envelopes. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. And I know she has shown ways to make sure that they are protected as well as they're going through the mail. So I do hope you enjoyed today's project. Got some ideas when it comes to small size stamps and what we can do using, you know, water reactive inks. Doesn't have to be distress inks. We can be any inks at all. But create away. As always, the products that I use will be listed down below in the video description. That was my phone, so sorry about that. You'll hear that again. If you have any questions, please make sure you leave those down below as well, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to be part of my group, so make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell so you know when the next video is live, and make sure you hit the thumbs up. Everyone, please continue to stay safe and healthy as we continue to go through our challenging time. But most of all, enjoy and always remember what could actually help us. Always. But be creative. Till next time.